If you want to pitch me in a content idea, tell me a good idea, why it's a good idea, and how they can do it, right? Everyone has ideas. Everyone and their mother has ideas. So what makes yours special? And you know what? You can have the $1 billion idea that's great, but if you can't execute it, that's a problem. Because you could be like, hey, Sam, I have this great idea for you. Oh, okay, can you make it? And you go, no, I've never video edited in my life. You're like, I know how to make solo queue guides really, really well because I'm a challenger player, but I can't video edit it. But I have a friend that video edits, you know? So we can make it happen. I'd be like, okay, show me. Like, that's really cool. Can you show it to me? Can you show me what you got? And maybe you don't have a complete, the ideal situation is that you're like, hey, Sam, I made this for you here. What do you think? I think Golden Guardians, this would help Golden Guardians a lot. And it's already completed. And I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. Or it's like, hey, this is a good start. Or it could be like, hey, this is bad. Or I don't think that we can use this or whatever, right? And I'll still be nice about it and we can talk about it to figure it out. Otherwise, I need you to prove it. Because let's say I have $10,000 budget for social media content or something like that, or YouTube content. Probably November, December, we're going to figure out like what our budgets are. We're going to figure out what our strategies are. And I got to come up with video content series for our social channels. So then I already have like, hey, we have these 3 series that are already successful and they cost $2,000 each. So I have $4,000 left. If you come to me with a product that I already know how much it costs or I have budget for, then you can steal that attention from me. The more you can give me that's less risk for me, the better. Because what ends up happening is I get pitches for things and I'm like, this is a good idea, but I don't really have time for this. Because you're adding more work on my plate by saying that you have an idea that you want to implement. So that's very worrisome for me, even though I'm like really excited to do it, but I barely can manage my YouTube accounts and make them all successful. I'm focusing on the ones that are already doing really, really well, and the players that are really invested in their YouTube accounts, I'm helping them more. Because that could be my full-time job, managing the player YouTube accounts. But then I have to do social media stuff. I got to help do running for events. I got to help consult for our YouTube channel because of the holes that we have for figuring out the YouTube content. So you need to minimize the risk in the work that I do. So the more you can do that, the better success it has. Because I don't want to work with, I don't want to put lots of money and a lot of risk and bet on people that seem like they don't know what they're doing. Let's say you had an outline of what exactly the content's going to be and how you can be involved in it. Then I can find an editor. That's still more work, and maybe that's still something we can do. And we have internal editors. Maybe internal editors would be able to do it, especially if it goes on our YouTube channel. We have internal editors for that. For social stuff, less bandwidth from them because they're really focused, and we're hired to do our YouTube content. If you're trying to pitch someone else, you got to figure out who you need to talk to. Maybe it's a VP of content. Maybe it's a creative director. Maybe it's an editor. Maybe it's director of operations. One guy that got work with us, Harry, but he does motion graphics, and he created a new intro for one of our social series, and he tagged me and he tagged my boss, and my boss, I think he tagged my boss, I don't remember, but my boss saw it, and I'm like, oh, I need to talk to this Harry dude, but I was super busy. And eventually my boss actually brought him up to me, and I'm like, yeah. And because my boss brought up, it got more pressure on me to actually like address it because he was good. And we're like, we need to talk to this dude. And knowing what has maybe worked, knowing how they talk, maybe some of them really don't like an aggressive pitch. But being able to do all the work for them, providing them value and minimizing the risk is the whole key about getting a job, whether it's a little freelancing, whether it's a big job, whether it's a client, whether it's sales, whatever. Minimize the risk, make the risk zero, as close to zero as possible, and the benefit close to 100 as possible. That's the key.